Alright guys, welcome to Beats, Rhymes and Life. We're a couple people down today. I'm Ash.
The one and only Riz.
And we got a special guest today. We've got Snips in it.
Let me get my mic right. Yes. There you go.
So we're gonna have a little bit of a short episode today, but we got a lot to run through, and I'm sure there'll be a little bit of debating too.
I just want to say, get well soon to Shakira, and shouts to Gabby as well.
Pour one out for you.
But welcome, Snips.
Yes, thank you for having me, man.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
We went to we had a group outing earlier this week.
Yeah, I think it was the first full group outing. We've been chatting shit about it for time, but since we've been recording, the first time all of us went to a gig together.
Yeah, because you lot did the
we did a Black Star and Children of Zeus, but you didn't make it because you broke down.
Yeah.
Wow, how was that?
Sick.
Yeah.
Most actually, and I'm not gonna say Yasin because I don't care.
Most
turned up. My only criticism was the performance was most driven, in the sense of he did tracks off Auditorium and stuff like that before they did any Black Star stuff.
Yeah, no one wants to hear that.
Yeah, so
like it's really, like, if you're gonna do even for quality, if you're gonna do solo stuff, it has to be from circa Black Star era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got that's what everybody went there for.
Yeah.
But it was still a great show, and shouts to Children of Zeus. They were really,
but you see them
really
lot,
good.
They're the truth. Like, I've been raving about them for time. Like,
I said probably the last almost a year now. I've been talking about them and we've actually tried to get them on, but with their schedules, it's mad because they're in money. But
well, you know, Connie Con's he's from my world. He's from old school.
Yeah,
hip-hop,
he was in Broken English. And stuff like that.
Yeah. So, bruv, it's shout out to them lot, but it's inspiring, like, to see. There's a lot of people from that world who've been written out of history and have no chance at coming back and regenerating a career. So to see what he's done, that shit's like
my thing is that, like, good music is timeless. So even though we're in a climate now where a lot of music is microwave music and the popular stuff isn't going to be the soulful music or the stuff with the real vibes, that now something like that they've made, like their project they released was just songs they've done over the last 7 years. And when I said that, I was like, what? I was like, it sounds like you actually sat down and recorded it. And I was talking to Connie about it, and he was like, he goes, we must just have that kind of vibe.
It is that kind of music. Because if you think about it, it does sound like it could have just been done now, but also if you go back and listen to some of the neo soul stuff from 10 years ago, it could also fit in that vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, you know.
But they were dope. But yeah, Wretch. These guys are all like Wretch super fans.
When you say super fan, I just personally think he's the best that we have, like, in terms of all round from the UK. So I wouldn't call myself a super fan per se. But
fine.
I'm a big fan. Like, the word super fan for me, I'm just like...
No, the reason I say super fan is because whenever Wretch's name comes up, these guys get all excited and lit up and stuff, where, fine, I say Shakira and Gabby are more the super fans. Maybe you not so much.
I can't be a super fan.
I don't think that's
Wretch.
The case, but I think Wretch is widely regarded by most of us as probably the best UK rapper overall, and one of the best in the world, definitely. But for me, from a perspective of not really taking in his music fully, apart from the last 2 projects, I thought it was a good show. The set list was maybe, in terms of taking you up and down, a little bit odd, but it was good.
That was my only major criticism, because it's like, if you've been to a Wretch show before, you kind of know that he's gonna be, how would I say, very energetic. So I expected that from him in terms of like the high energy. I expected all of that. But in terms of any criticisms, it was like some of the songs that I would have expected him to perform, like Time, I believe, and Time was one of the ones that I was expecting to go in here, and he didn't perform it. Which was a bit of a disappointment. But other than that, it was a good performance. The backing singers were a highlight for me as well. Yeah,
shouts to Wilson. Wilson's been about doing his things for years and years and years, so it's good to see him on the stage with somebody that's quite big right now. And his run at the end of Power, I said it to him on Twitter already, but I have to bring it up again. He went in, like,
he brought out Avellino, I believe.
Avellino, Jelani. Did Kojo Funds come out? I think maybe Stormzy came out. So yeah, he did what he was supposed to do in that sense.
For me, it was just a good way to round off what has been a very good year for, I'd say, the scene in this country.
UK music.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more, even though maybe some people criticise the artists that are being celebrated to an extent, it's definitely more respected.
I definitely, I'm not going to lie and say I'm not one of those people, because I have been one of them people that's criticised a lot of the artists that are getting, I know some, it's not because I'm hating on anybody, I just want people to do better in it. Like I feel like I travel a lot, I go to the States a lot, and regardless of what's being sold back to people here, it's still seen as a bit of a joke, which is why Michael Dapper got so embraced.
One of the things that I've struggled,
because he was a parody, and they're taking it
and
serious.
they kind of like that, like that's and that's kind of how they embrace it. So for me, my thing is I genuinely want us to be spoken about here
in high regard.
Yeah. So for us, it's like supporting just anybody that comes out. That's not progressive to actually being seen as a major factor. Do you know what I mean? So going back to Wretch, I feel like Wretch is probably like one of very few rappers who, like, you throw Wretch in the middle of a BET cypher with whoever, Pusha, My Son, whoever, the spitters, Wretch is gonna hold his own. 100%. So I kind of feel like Wretch and Giggs. I mean, Giggs isn't the same type of rapper as Wretch necessarily, but I feel like his overall...
definitely not.
Like, do you know what it is? I have a...
We've both got an issue with Giggs now. I
wouldn't even say it's an issue with Giggs now, because I respect everything in terms of, if you look at his back catalogue, his contribution, I can't, he deserves the looks.
He deserves what's happening to him now, 100%.
I just personally don't really relate much to Giggs today.
Here's the thing with Giggs, and this is why I put Giggs in such high regard, is because we can all pretend that certain other rappers that have got big haven't compromised what they've done to get where they've got to. And I'm not even knocking them for it, because it's the climate that we existed in this country. Giggs has done him, like, for 10 years now. He's just done him.
Been blackballed as well.
And he's done him, and there's nobody else at his level that's really flying the flag for the audience that relate to him. Do you see what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, I personally, I would say out of all the UK rappers out, I probably listen to Giggs' music more than anybody else's music. Because I think, whereas I could say Wretch is probably lyric for lyric the best in this country, but I don't necessarily gravitate to
so much.
The music Wretch makes. And that's because I think the lyrical ability that Wretch has, and again, this isn't a criticism of Wretch, because I understand what he's doing, I understand where he's going, but my personal taste, and at the end of the day, I'm a 38-year-old man, so the current music is not aimed at my generation, for the most part.
21-year-olds.
So it's not even a criticism, but because of the ability that I know Wretch has, I want to just hear Wretch black out on a Primo beat or an Alchemist beat. You know what I mean? Like, that's when I hear someone spit like that, that's what I want. Whereas I feel like the style that Giggs has complements the music that he makes perfectly. So I feel like he's the most. I totally understand why Giggs is he's the guy right now. He is the landlord. He is like, and I fully understand that. And I think there's nobody more deserving of where he's at.
Like I said, I 100% agree with you in terms of that. I feel he's got his just dues in it. In terms of,
sorry to interrupt you there as well. Just to clarify as well, don't get me wrong. Just because I said Wretch is like lyric for lyric, Giggs goes off. Like, I think a lot of the time people are like,
my issue with that
they say he raps slow or whatever. But if you break down lyric for lyric,
he's a very
Giggs can spit, bruv. Like, he's not like.
Do you know what? Giggs is witty.
He's definitely a witty artist.
He's definitely very witty, and he does have lyrics. But I think the thing that has thrown me off with Giggs is, again, he's done him and he's done it his way.
Yeah.
But I think what was the start of it for me? It was
the JME feature.
That wasn't even it for me. It was the Kano track.
Okay.
Free Will Ups, and what he did on that, for me personally, anyway, I was like, I'm not really working with it. Again,
but then the JME feature, he blacked the fuck out on that.
Alright,
but that's exactly, and that's the thing.
If you look at it from a perspective of, alright, for me, there's a timeline in terms of before he went to jail, Giggs, and then obviously the transition of him trying to kind of like maneuver independently after coming out of jail. So I understand it from a perspective of he's trying to collect now, innit? In terms of he's making music that appeals to a much wider audience, innit? Whereas before,
do you think though?
I personally feel that in terms of like he fits in a pocket where to an uneducated ear you could kind of call him grime now, where before I wouldn't have made that distinction that he was a rapper.
I don't know, man. Like that
he features with a lot of grime acts now, where before it was more obviously rap and the slower tones, and like, even the way that he kind of like the melodies that he is more that the tempo is a lot different to
I would say if anything it's more symptomatic of the fact that grime artists have lost
the grime
their sound, and they're more kind of moving towards the rap. Because I would say, like, if you look at Whipping Excursion, obviously that's, people could say it's grime tempo, it's trap tempo, which is essentially the biggest, like that's the sound in hip hop right now. So I look at Whipping Excursion, which, you know, Lockdown was obviously a big record off the last album, but Whipping Excursion was the one that was smashing up the clubs. That's like a 3-minute record with no hook. Where he's talking all kinds of like who, I don't think there's many other artists that could get away with putting that out as a single, you know. And I hear what you're saying about the grime thing, and again, for me, I think he's the Kano track you're talking about. He's sitting on a track with probably 2 of the most celebrated grime artists ever, and he's in a space where he's having to adapt to their style of music. That's a straight grime record, you know. And I actually think that way, obviously he's not a grime artist, so like
he's got to adjust
against the Kano or a Wiley, he might not come off the strongest on the track. But if you think about when grime artists then have to sit on hip hop records,
they stick out like a sore thumb.
He does a better job of doing a grime record than I've heard grime artists when they try and do hip hop records. You know?
Like that's the thing, I can't argue with that. And then even with I think like I'm not gonna say I was fed up, but I heard a few features and I was like, okay, I get it. I'm not working with it, but I get it. And then what was the track that kind of brought me back? It was the Sneak Bow track, Active, which isn't really a Sneak Bow track. It may as well be a gig single. Like I don't care about Sneak Bows with it. That was like, okay, this is the gigs that I know and expect. But then I didn't like the mixtape. And I was like it's cool. I think it's, again, that mixtape's probably in a space of like, it's cool to ride around to, and there's a few, I think there's probably 3 or 4 standout tracks.
But in terms of even that, with the whole, like, the scene in general, like, you've got to understand what a mixtape's purpose is, innit? It's kind of reverted back to that. It's just to keep you relevant in a sense.
But would you not say...
If you've got spillover from an album and you've got a certain amount of tracks, you might as well... We say it all the time. If you've got music, you should put it out.
But then I also think now in this time it falls into 2 categories. You have that definitely where a lot of artists might record 30, 40 songs for the album and put 12 to 15 on or whatever. But then you've also got the people that put out what could probably be their like, this isn't the gigs, but just the overall point that people will put out their albums and call it a mixtape because they don't have the faith in it being an actual out and out release.
Definitely.
But gigs is, I think it, like I said, he fully deserves what he's in. Out of everybody that's successful right now in the UK, I think he deserves it more than most. Because I remember him when he was complaining about certain, I won't name names, but complaining about certain MTV journalists and newspaper journalists and stuff that were fully blackballing him. All his shows were getting shut down by police.
Asking him to be on your MTV Raps.
Like they want him.
Do you know
gigs
what I mean?
is, like you said, he's the guy. You want him
what
involved.
I respect about him is that he doesn't go running when like if somebody's blackballed him or somebody's been instrumental in trying to stop his career. Now they've done a U-turn and they've wanted, like, he's not running for it. Like other artists, they like I don't know. And I'm probably slightly biased because I have a relationship with Giggs. We know each other. I speak to him, and certain conversations I've had with him, I can understand why he's done certain things. So that may make me biased on my opinion,
that's
but
the thing.
For me, I just feel like the integrity that he has is far more so than a lot of other artists in this country.
That's the thing I give him. He's, even when he's on other stuff, when he was on Half Cast with Chucky and Poe, he's very upfront when he's asked questions about that stuff, and he's like, well, he goes, now I could get paid 50 bags for this or get paid for this or that. But he was like, if I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to do it. and that's what I think we want to hear from our artists. We want stuff to be organic. So like I can't argue with that. You know, one of the other talking points, to shift it a bit, I don't know if you watched it because I sent it in the group, but Black Thought's freestyle,
mad.
Do you know what's funny? And anyone can go back and start scrolling my tweets from
just search
back.
I've
been saying Black Thought, like bar for bar, is
one of the best
out. And it's great. All it needs, because I used Andre 3000 on Twitter as an example. No one ever had Andre 3000 in the conversation as their greatest, until Lil Wayne said it. And then a younger generation went back, listened and was like, right, this guy's sick. And now he's in the conversation. And I feel like, who's it going to take? Like, what's it going to take? Is it going to take a Drake or a Kendrick or whoever to give Black Thought that shout and allow him to now be in the conversation? Because Black Thought's been nasty with it. He's been that rapper.
I don't think there's ever been any doubts from him, even all the way back to like Illadelph, Half-Life and the music they were putting out back then. As a rapper, I don't think there's ever been any questions about his ability and what he can do. But then I think he falls into... I'm not going to say he falls into the same category because it sounds like I'm demeaning him. But rappers like him and Royce... and
we're gonna get there.
Like Royce, maybe even Elzai, people like that
don't have that one banger. They don't have like
Royce had a couple because of Primo.
But even then, it's like even today, like if I'm playing a set in Living Proof, there's no Royce record that
stands up.
That I can play.
Primo's probably the closest, but it's not really there because of the Craig David remix as well.
But then if you think about it, like because another artist that gets put in the same category as Thought and Royce is Pharoah Monch, but Pharoah Monch still has Simon Says. Which
Simon Says will destroy anything anywhere. Like I've been in some mad situations when that's dropped in some clubs.
Ridiculous. It just doesn't go anywhere.
For me, in terms of if you're looking at it in terms, similarly like you said with Andre, although we have what we would call a solo project, it wasn't necessarily him rapping. So Roots obviously legendary, but
they called the legendary Roots crew for a reason.
Until you kind of give us that project, it's kind of hard for people to kind of like say.
Thing is, they have albums where they've got classic albums, but he doesn't have that one standout record that will bang in every club. And the thing is, we were talking about this on Twitter the other day, and The Seed is a huge record, possibly bigger than Simon Says or bigger than but it just never hit in. It hit in a different circle. I saw it described as being the hip hop record for people that don't know that they like hip hop, and that's what it is. And that's like, but then I feel like we're getting more and more into a space where, I hate using the term, but quote unquote real hip hop is actually being consumed more so by people outside of what we consider the hip hop world. Like Kendrick is still outselling everybody bar Drake, but Kendrick don't really get love in what we would now consider hip-hop circles. It's more the real music heads that are embracing it, and it's the same in R&B as well. It's like if you look at what D'Angelo and Frank Ocean and these artists, like they're getting way more love in outside of quote unquote the urban world that are embracing it. So it's, I don't know, it's weird.
But that's the thing where I think like now this climate, we were talking about we had a point however long ago about, it was a question we posed, like, is the album dead now, in the sense of a lot of, especially major artists, follow a kind of formula. They've got however many tracks and you've got this producer or that producer, producer, and then you need to have a feature from these 3-4 people, and it needs to be constructed in a certain way. So don't get me wrong, from 90s albums were constructed a certain way, but I guess it was a more authentic way to us, because you had to have a Primo track, things like that stuck out. And we were saying that independents now aren't going for that formula. They're making albums. So Children of Zeus and their album, Tom Misch probably in his beat tape projects with all the R&B stuff, it's like they're just making music.
I actually like the concept of, because as much as to me it's still the greatest hip-hop album ever, Illmatic set that trend of
working with everyone,
and like rather, because if you think about,
as much as we wouldn't necessarily label it, it was technically a super produced album.
It was.
It was. You got to remember, at that time, Pete Rock was Dre. Like Pete Rock, Primo was
Q-Tip,
Neptune's,
Primo, Large Pro.
Those guys were the top at the time, but if you think about a lot of the other classic hip hop albums before that, every Tribe album was produced by Ali Shaheed and Q-Tip. Every Pete Rock and CL Smooth album was Pete Rock. Gangsta album was Primo. Wu-Tang's album was all RZA. Like, you know what I mean? It was like the reason people had a sound was because they had a producer that.
But I feel that's something that in terms of moving forward, like say for instance, even with going back to Wretch or gigs, in terms of, I feel locking in with a particular producer that can give you a specific sound is something that I feel culturally we have to kind of get. Like, in terms of, I look at it, we're going to always compare the UK scene to the American scene in terms of the timelines. Although we've had rappers here for going way back to mid-90s or even early 90s, way back. Earlier, the timelines are not too dissimilar in terms of, but in terms of, obviously, the success that American artists have had compared to the UK artists, in terms of, like, you see where you have, like what we would call defined stars like Jay-Z, Nas. We're only reaching that point where we can say where we have a Stormzy or someone that's widely accepted as the guy. So Stormzy having his project, alright, cool. He's got all eyes on him now in terms of what comes next after that. So I feel a lot of artists from the UK, they're kind of, it's like not necessarily a lack of direction, but in terms of, I don't think they've expected things to pop off over here the way that they have. I think
it's more a case of just knowing that regardless of whose project is coming out, I know it's going to sound like now. I just know it's going to sound like, I know what the beats are going to sound like. I know what nothing is going to surprise me. It's just going to sound like now. You know? And that's what I think makes it just pop music. Is that there isn't any kind of, people aren't really pushing boundaries where it's like I want to try and create a sound or chase a sound. It's like, and to be fair to him, and again, it's not my kind of music. I'm not a big fan, but what Jay Huss did, I have to give credit for that because he created a sound. You know,
and you look at most of it is produced by J5. So
I mean, he's definitely an example. And again, it's like I respect what that music does in the club, and I respect what he's created. It's not my personal taste, but I have to take my hat off to him for doing that, because that's a hard thing to do. Like to actually, like, you nearly just created a genre almost, you know. And I know there's other people that do that style as well, but I feel like no one has embodied it like you know, like in such a like cohesive project.
I'm not a huge fan myself, but I had to appreciate what he did, and also then to get one of the biggest club bangers as well. It goes off. We've been abroad and it's gone mad, and then here
I've heard that played in New York. You know,
it doesn't surprise me one bit.
And I've heard that played in, like, because here's the thing, when people say, oh, such and such is big in New York, it's not big in the hood. Like, it's bigger. I've heard that get played in hood clubs in New York, like, and that's rare, because when people say something's big.
Was that the French remix, or was that?
I can't remember which one it was. I just know
because French was terrible in it, but I'm just curious.
Probably was, to be honest. I didn't even know French was on there, but like
exactly.
Just something else we wanted to get your opinion on. Anybody that follows you on Twitter knows that you're
quite opinionated.
I wouldn't even say opinionated, because I'm opinionated myself, and I only talk on things that I'm passionate about and I have a general knowledge of. So just doubling back on the Mase and Cam thing, what was your thoughts on that overall?
Let me clear my throat for that. I thought it came out of nowhere, and I didn't really understand Mase's angle. When I watched the Angie Martinez interview, I came away with a lot more respect.
Had you listened to the Cam project before you heard about the Mase? Okay.
Which is why,
into context.
It was good, but the thing is, like we know Mase, innit? Like, not like, I'm not talking Harlem World bad boy Mase. Like, if you know Murder Mase, which a lot of people don't. Like, you know he can spit. Like, do you know what I mean? We know, like, so to me,
I take it a lot more personally. Sorry to cut you as well.
No,
in terms of, I'm only just turned 30, so in terms of the age when Mase came out, I was popular. I was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
However, after the popularity and after he went away, I made sure that I went and
still continue listening,
and I listened to Children of the Corn, Mase, and like whatever freestyles he had out, and it's like I know that Mase can spit, and you don't necessarily. I won't say it's easy to fall out of popularity, but you don't lose that ability to. So it wasn't surprising to me.
Yeah.
If anything, though, it does. Like, he went in, but he still sounds rusty. He still sounds like a man that hasn't rapped in a long time.
Yeah, I think because he sounded so good in comparison to anything he's put out since Double Up. And I don't think Double Up's a great album.
Even Harlem World.
Double Up was a terrible.
Double Up was bad. So for him to come out and do that, part of me was like, it's a bit crazy. Like, it's 2017 and we've still got a Mase and Cam beef. And, you know, these are two people that are kind of classed as idols for different reasons. And then Mase has come back and done this. It's like, this is sick. But at the same time, it's like, but you could have done this 10 to 15 years ago and still actually had a real career.
But I kind of understand what he's saying, just about like, I just
being a man and like,
I just didn't want to do it, and like, eventually you poke someone long enough, they're gonna bite in it. So
which I agree with, but do you know what the thing is? Fine, we have contradiction in rap and hip hop. That's accepted from day one. That's never been a doubt. But I think with him, because the way he explained it in the interview was really good. But I think overall, because he's seen as the biggest contradiction in hip hop, people find it hard to respect anything he says. Where me being a fan, I was like, when he says some stuff, I was like, you know, he goes, there's only so long you can be provoked. And he goes, I'm a preacher, but I'm a man. So, you know, there's only so far, regardless of anything that's going to be said.
And you know what? This goes for a lot of things, man. Like, nothing defines a man as what, like you're not defined by one thing.
No,
like,
of course not.
Like, this idea that, like, if you're a thug, you're a thug. If you're a preacher, you're a preacher. If you're this, if you're gallus, you're this. If you're this, it's like, no one's one-dimensional. I saw the other day with, like, just going back to gigs with the Star Wars shit and his Instagram. It's like,
he's a proper nerd, like, with that.
So what if he's a bad boy? You can't like Star Wars. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, people have, like, I've worked with artists when I was living in the States who I didn't even found out till afterwards. Like, dudes are like serious guys, like ridden like long bids, like done some mad shit, but like I've seen them. Because we're not interacting in that space. So and it's like people get surprised, and it's like when people are like that, I'm like, fuck, how much interaction do you have with people, or do you just believe all this facade? Because like, a man that will go out and shoot somebody will still kiss his mum in the morning. You know, like, do you see what I'm saying? It's like this idea that like, and it's no different to someone fucking becoming a preacher. Like, you're still a human being. You still have a you're still going to be a motive and react to things. You know, like,
I guess the thing with Mase was that because there were so many instances over the years of him kind of reaching back into it and then pulling back again, and then like, no, it's the devil's money and I don't need it, and then obviously still taking all the money from Puff, because he's been open in that in the last year or two, where he said that, like, you know, Puff brings me back in. He goes, I've made a lot of money from Puff bringing me back into the fold. And he was, I don't know, it's a tough one, but the other thing I do rate about what he said was that after Big, his pen carried Bad Boy a lot. It was him and Kiss. Kiss basically wrote all the Puff stuff. And then Mase did a lot for everybody else and some of Puff's shit as well. When he was talking about when he did the magnum opus for Feel So Good, and he said that when they used to rat, he goes, you had to make sure you were ratting your hardest because you never knew what Puff was going to take. So he's like, I've got a person. He's like, give me that.
But here's the thing, and this is an unpopular opinion for most people younger than me, and I feel like there's a lot of rewriting of history in that era and Bad Boy. After Big died, hip hop heads did not give a fuck about Bad Boy, and this is the truth, man. And like, anybody who wants to argue that's my age and grew up through it, if you think otherwise, you's on the other side and you were being laughed at by hip hop heads. And this is a thing. And this is like, I hear people go, no, we were jamming to that. It's like, okay, you were being laughed at. Trust me, you were being laughed at. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, like, in hindsight, Mace's shit was cool. The first album was cool. But at the time, hip hop heads were not fucking with Mase, bruv. Like, not fucking with him. Even, listen, and again, I'll get slated for this, but this is true. And like, talk to like all my elders, you talk to people like Shorty Blitz or whatever, then they were in the clubs at the time playing these. Even Big, bruv, when More Money, More Problem came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, shaky. That like Hypnotized, that was getting. Yeah. When I took my wife to see Stretch Armstrong DJ when he did the what's it called, the Radio That Changed Lives thing here a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he played Hypnotized and he wheeled it up and he went, listen, I don't have to play this shit. I'm playing this shit for the girls. Like, tell me if you want me to keep it real right now, and we'll just scrap this record. And my wife was like, wow, he's talking about Biggie, and I was like, yeah, because at the time that record was not like, people were like, what the fuck? It's only because he died so shortly after, and that record was essentially synonymous with the celebration of his life, that it's now looked back at such a classic. But listen, when that shit came out, people like hip hop heads were just like, yeah, you know. And Bad Boy especially, listen,
shiny suits,
Black Rob's Whoa, big record.
Yep.
G-Dep Special Delivery, big records. The first Locks album, and again, even some of that was a bit
shaky.
If You Think I'm Jiggy was the lead single of the album first.
You can blame Puff for that again.
That's not the one that gets remembered. It's Money, Power, Respect, which was obviously an adult record, because Nasheem Merrick, who produced that, I think it was Nasheem Merrick, he was the one out of the Bad Boy camp that was like, whenever you were looking for an album and it was like produced by the Hitmen, it was always like, let me see who did. Nasheem Merrick, he's the hip hop guy. He did Capone and Noriega stuff and whatnot. So I think he did Money, Power, Respect. But yeah, at the time, man, like, you know.
Alright, well, and I'll ask you this question because I can get where you're saying it from. Obviously, for us, because it brings about another bigger point for us why we perceive things differently. But you can say probably they weren't as respected. But do you not think, even if it was more of the popular realm, that their remixes were some of the biggest records? Yeah, even if you're not saying as an authentic hip hop crowd.
Yeah, no, they were, but then you also got to think about what era, because a lot of the best and the biggest remixes came before Big died. Like if you think of the really big, like all the R&B remixes, Only You, the Faith records, the Total stuff.
Yeah. Mary
J. That was a golden era. Post Big.
Do you know what it is for me? I look at it, like you said, innit, a lot of the R&B stuff, like in terms of, I look at 97 to about 99 as kind of the crossover point in terms of,
and it's the same with hip hop. That's when it started to die.
Yeah, in terms of, for me, like I look at the post Big in terms of when Carl Thompson came, like for me, Been Around the World remix,
it's one of my favourite remixes ever.
Remixes I've ever heard. So it's like, I look at that, and obviously I look at it with a certain fondness because obviously the age I was at the time.
But it's like even that, but like the Honey remix to me, that's one of my favourite remixes ever. Like Mariah and the Locks and Mase. Like you can't, I know from a hip hop perspective it's gonna seem corny.
It's Candy Floss.
Yeah, but that's my shit. And probably lesser known fact is Q-Tip did the drums.
Yeah. Q-Tip's he's in the video as well.
I think he's in the video, in the remix video, yeah. But
the funniest thing that I took from the whole Mase and Cam beef was the fact that nobody looked at the Jay-Z element and the role that Jay played in the whole Mase.
No, nobody looks at that.
So for me, it's like I said, if you don't really know, you wouldn't know about their beef because it was a lot of subliminal shots being sent. So even when Mase talked about on the Angie Martinez interview about always being second to Cam, and then it wasn't until obviously he got signed that he became the guy. So his perspective, looking back, we thought Mase was the guy. If you didn't know any better, you thought that Mase was always the guy.
Yeah, especially because how he came out.
But he's like, so when I go back and I listen to the J verse and it's like, check your own videos, you always be number 2. It's like, for me, that's that Jay at his finest, in terms of, if you didn't know, you would have thought he was just popping off some fly shit, innit? But if you know, go and look at the video. They've got the shirt.
And Mase
got number 1. And Mase is
but did you see what Mase said about it?
He said, I wore number 2.
I'm second to no one.
I was like, whatever, nigga, shit. Like, to me, that was the funniest part about the whole beef, because obviously, like I said, apart apparently it was meant to be over a chick or something like that.
It was over a chick.
So,
well, as in, that's the stories that have come out from both sides. That it was that chick Ariana that Jay-Z was seeing, and then Mase supposedly smashed, and then that's when they had
the friction.
Talk about the Mase and Jay-Z.
Yeah.
That was
to me that the Cam and Mase thing, like, to me it's like rehashing old news.
It is rehashing it.
That was the funniest part.
But if that's what it takes for me to hear Mase rap and actually rap for the first time in however many years, then go for it. And he's released a follow-up track which is garbage. He actually rapping. He actually raps decently on it. He's still saying he's pretty, which he shouldn't be saying no more. But the actual track is horrible. It's like the rap. What is it? The rap Mount Rushmore, and Puff's talking shit on it, and so is Khaled. And I was
he said he stole the Puff. Like, Puff didn't necessarily co-sign on that, so it's going to be interesting to see how far that goes.
Man, do you know why Bad Boy went so shit when Big died? It's because Big used to check Puff.
Yeah,
like Puff was in awe of Big. Think about you ever heard the Victory?
Yeah.
Puff's rapping his heart out, and Big's talking all the way through his verse. If you go back and listen to that, Puff's the sun don't shine forever, and Big's just talking about turn my listen, edge it. Like, he's just talking over the whole. Do you think Puff would never let that fly with another artist? Now? Yeah.
The ego's like super inflated now to the point where it's like he calls the shots.
Do you know what? I want to ask you a question on Puff from like your perspective, having been over there and experienced a lot more. Is Puff like really about that life? Because there's a lot of stories about him, and even some of the stuff that he's kind of said. So like, when Suge was like, you produce all up in the videos, all up in the songs, he claims he went and checked him with the Wolves, and obviously Puff's from Harlem as well. Was from there's a certain crowd.
Puff's dad was a real guy.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of obviously even that, obviously no one really knows where that whole beef stemmed from, but obviously.
Because they were all
bodyguard got shot in it, so that's where it kind of stems from. So it's real street stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and the thing is, all you got to remember, it's like whether Puff's really about that life, bro. Give me $50 million.
And all my people will be about it.
I'll pull out all the goons that you want. No, like life is cheap out there, bro. There's people in the States, they'll kill somebody for a few grand. Yeah. So when you got that kind of money, anybody can have a team.
The only reason I was curious is because obviously.
He's got that reputation.
He's got his reputation. He's got a reputation for putting his hands on people. But also, when I think about him coming from Uptown and basically kicking off to get his own shit, and then he was always dotted around in people's videos or careers, even if he wasn't involved. So he was in Mobb Deep's video for Survival of the Fittest and stuff like that. And he said that like he was like Prodigy and Havoc used to come to my office and they'd be strapped up and shit. Like, and he goes, everyone be scared of them, and I'd just be like. It's cool, like these guys are youngins. Like. So I'm just always curious about his mindset because even when you think of, you see later on like making the band and stuff, and Puff's just going off on people, and everyone was like making jokes about it, but he seems to be that way. I guess apart from with Big, presumably,
he's definitely a hothead. But I think whether he's like a real street guy or not, like I don't know. I think he's obviously comes from it, but I don't know if he's like.
Hands on.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess slapping up Drake doesn't really count, does it?
But it's funny because like there's such a myth with like street artists in New York and who's really who, and it's like people are just fooled by music a lot of the time, man.
Of course.
Like because the street, I say this all the time, bro. The shit that people say, that's backpack hip hop, that's backpack rap, that's nerd rap, yeah. A lot of those artists are killers, bruv. And especially like if you look back at the 90s, like one of the biggest gangsters in New York rap is Showbiz from Show and AG. Like one of the most feared people. And if I try and talk to like a hood dude in London about hip hop and I say I listen to Showbiz and AG, they're too, that's an old school backpack shit. But Showbiz is a killer, bruv. Like he's one of the most feared people. Fat Joe's one of the most feared people. That whole crew, that whole digging in the crates, like
all of them.
Sean Price, rest in peace. Like Sean Price, bruv. The stories I've heard about him, bruv. Like he was a leader of the Deceps, bruv. Like they were one of the biggest gangs in New York City.
But
like,
Sean Price doesn't surprise me though, because of the whole boot camp thing from back then. And then even when he was doing his solo stuff, even the way he talked about shit and the way he spoke to people, it wasn't even disrespectful to people. But he always made his thing like, I'll smack you, I'll smack him. I don't care. Like I'm not interested.
He's one of the most. he's one of the most fucking. He was one of the most interesting characters, man. He showed us a lot of love, actually. Like, he brought Mega and Mayhem on stage when he came over here, and I did a tour with him in Miami when I was living in the States.
Oh,
and he's he's someone I genuinely like. I know people love to like name drop rappers. That's the homie. That's the homie. It's like, no, it's not. You met once, but Sean Price was legitimately like someone I considered a friend. And sad actually, because I was in the States when he died, and as I was flying out there, I was in New York and I was going to Brazil to see my cousin, and he must have hit me and said, "Oh, when you get back to New York, bring your wife over, and then we'll go and have dinner, me and my wife." And so I was like, yeah, definitely. I hit him, and then I get back to New York Saturday night, or Friday night, I can't remember. I get back either Friday night or Saturday night. I wake up the next morning, I go to hit him, and I look on my Twitter, and everyone's talking about rest in peace, Sean Price. I'm just like, fuck. But he was like, sense of humor, like he was a perfect rapper to me. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think it all comes across in his music. Yeah, that's the thing.
Completely. And he could have been bigger than he was. He had deals on the table, man. Like, he turned them down. He turned down the Def Jam deal.
I think for what? So many of these guys could have been bigger. Actually, no, it takes me a little bit left, but I'm just curious to hear your opinion. So, in hip hop, we have this thing of like, once somebody dies, everybody becomes fans of them.
Get someone.
But I've read some stuff because, like, for me, Dilla, I became